Well, it's the 23rd of December 2025. It's now 2 days, about 48 hours to Christmas. Now, the weather has now made landfall. That's the harmattan that Jeffrey so longingly awaited, and he's not here to appreciate the beauty of the weather. Of course, I'm home alone as Kade is not here as well. Good morning. Welcome to your Perfect Morning Starter on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka. And of course, Tuesday greets us well this morning with the official receipt of the remaining 130 children and their teachers by the Niger State government. We saw that yesterday, and it was heartwarming news, and with also the promise that they will be reunited with their families very soon, and of course the assurance as well that they will be going through some form of psychosocial support before they are released to reunite with their families. And that is going to form a huge talking point on the program today. Of course, appreciating the federal government for this effort, and of course it appears all is well that has now ended well for the authorities at St. Mary's Catholic School, Papiri, in Niger State, as all kidnapped children from November the 28th, I believe, have now returned to school. But of course, questions still remain, very huge and important questions about security concerns, about the very gaping absence of arrest that has trailed the release of the first 100 and then the final 130. So what exactly is the nature of the sustained operations, according to explanations provided by the federal government, that has led to the release of these children? Sustained operations could be anything. We need more answers to that seeming ambiguity in the approach to tackling kidnapping and securing children have been released. Let's not forget that in Kogi State, we're still awaiting the release of the worshippers kidnapped from Ejiba community, to be precise. Early last week, when we had a conversation with the commissioner, there was a promise of something significant to happen within 24 hours. And it was easy, to conclude that it would mean breaking news on the announcement of the Kogi worshippers from the church in Ejiba community. But we didn't see that. Rather, what we saw was a recovery of a cache of arms by the Kogi State government. So security is still a very big concern in Nigeria, alongside efforts of the Nigerian authorities to ensure that people live with a sense of safety, which is not matching the results that we're seeing. But at this point, speaking of which, you must appreciate the authorities for efforts so far. Of course, news also came through about the kidnapping of the arrest of a kidnapped kingpin linked to another notorious bandit leader, Dogo. That also came through yesterday. And so, congratulations to the authorities at St. Mary's Catholic Church, Papiri, in Niger State. We'll have that conversation later on the program. But speaking of security and efforts of the Nigerian government, of course, to also provide some form of solutions to the diplomatic spat that has arisen as a result of the big security concerns in Nigeria, the federal government is making us understand that indeed efforts to resolve the diplomatic challenges with the U.S. government have been yielding a lot of results. And we could mention a series of events that has led us here. Of course, some of them geopolitical in nature. When you recall, Nigeria's inclusion in, the countries, the countries that have now formed BRICS, that association, with those countries, leading, of course, to decisions as far as currency is concerned, efforts to, provide alternative solutions to managing the economy. And, Nigeria also being included in the list of trade restrictions introduced by the U.S. government as a result of identification with BRICS. We also recall after that, not long after, the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, but not also forgetting prior to that time the resolve of the U.S. government to prosecute corrupt Nigerian government officials. So all of that has led us to this particular point where, Congressman Riley Moore also visited Nigeria and interacted with government officials, top government officials from the Ministry of Justice and, of course, from the Office of the National Security Advisor. The National Security Advisor himself also meeting with Mr. Riley Moore, U.S. Congressman. And so what are the gains, of the resolution of that diplomatic spat, according to the federal government, who should be interrogating that beyond what we're being told about the resolutions, the gains in security, that we're yet to see a sufficient result, and what are the recommendations that were promised that, if implemented, Nigeria can exit this very dark phase of banditry, of terrorism, of kidnapping. What are those resolutions? So those critical questions must be asked about the successes that are being highlighted by the Ministry of Information, through the federal government. So very critical questions there. But what do we have for you this morning beyond those significant events of the last 24 hours? We have, beyond talking with the Niger State authorities on the release of the final 130 children and their teachers, we'll also be touching on environmental concerns in River State. We saw the National Security Advisor visit River State yesterday with an assurance that the oil spill in Ogoni land will be tackled. And, going from there, there will be resolutions to the very thorny issues of environmental degradation. And not forgetting the demand of the people to be included in conversations around solutions to the challenge of oil spills and the management of oil exploration in Ogoni land. So we'll be looking at that as well. Also, the 2026 appropriation bill will be in a line of vision this morning as we interrogate all of the details, the benchmarks that the the 2026 budget have been staked against. So we have an economist, help us pick the line by line item, the sectoral allocations from the 2026 budget. But of course, not forgetting sports as Nigeria prepares to make up for the loss of, well, Kayode would say we shouldn't close the window, or if you like, the partial opening of the door to our participation in the World Cup. But, of course, our eyes are on AFCON this morning. So we'll be having our correspondent come to us to talk to us about preparations ahead of AFCON. What are the chances of Nigeria picking the trophy this time around? And, of course, not getting very close to it as we did last year and then missing it. Is Nigeria prepared? How tidy are our preparations? I hope we're not going to be having issues about allowances, welfare, treatment of the Super Eagles come up this time around to negatively shape, our outlook as far as preparations is concerned for the World Cup. And so Cecilia will come talk to us this morning about that. There's a lot more to come on the program, not forgetting trends. So what is most significant for you as far as the events in the last 24 hours is concerned? Is it the resolve or promise of the federal government that indeed the efforts to resolve the diplomatic issues with the U.S. Is that it for you? Talk to us. Our emails will be showing on your screen very soon. Of course, there'll be ample room, I believe, today on the program to read some of your feedback. And will you also be reacting to the release of the remaining 130 children and their teachers from in Niger State? Talk to us. Let's hear your views. Do you feel safe, just in case you are in Niger State this morning in Kwantagora community? Talk to us about the state of security in your area. How reassuring, relatedly, is the federal government's decision to reopen the unity schools? Of course, children are on holidays at the moment, but it's a very short holiday. Before you know it, by the first week in January, I believe, schools will reopen. So how safe is your environment if you're in the hinterland, in all those areas where we've had concerns about security? Let us know. We'll have time to read your feedback this morning. But let's listen to perhaps the Niger State governor from that event at the government house in Niger State yesterday, when the children were escorted into the government house. And then we'll be right back.
We thank God for today. I want to thank the President, I want to thank the NSA, the Department of State Service, for the Nigerian Army and everybody for their support. This wouldn't have been possible without everybody's hands on deck. So this is good. But seeing the size of those children is really, really touching. A child of 1 year, 2 years old and in captivity, it's very, very touching. However, we are grateful to God because at least we've gotten these children. And we are going to hand them over to their parents by tomorrow. We'll start the process. And they are being taken care of. They have been going through a lot of medical checks. The UNICEF is collaborating with the state government and the federal government. They are all doing the necessary things. So in a very nutshell, we are grateful. We thank God at least they will do Christmas with their parents. On the information that's available to the Office of the NSA, to the Department of State Service, there were 230. All in all with the teachers and everything. And now we've been able to get them back. I don't want us to go back and forth about the numbers. I'm sure the church and the school understand exactly where there were errors. Initially, it could be a result of panic or every other issue can be responsible. I don't think it's very fair, to the system, to the government, for you to ask whether money was used or not. Most important thing, we have gotten these people back unhurt. The other one is for us, not for you. So I think the most important is that we have recovered missing children, and how we did it, we know it. What we have seen in this situation, some parents don't want to take responsibility because it's very irresponsible of somebody to take his child at 2 years or 3 years into a boarding facility. These are not things we should discuss today. They are things that we're going to review, and also about the school, its operation and everything, and not just that school. A host of schools who are in this practice will have to be looked into.
Yeah, Niger State Governor there, Umaru Bago, addressing journalists after the remaining 130 children and their teachers were returned by security operatives to the government house in Mina. And so you've heard it from the Niger State Governor. What is important is that those children have been returned and they will be reunited with their parents, and of course they will be able to spend Christmas with their families. But is that what is most important? What is the approach to getting those children back? How reassuring is it that those kidnappers will not return to terrorize communities yet again? That, of course, also should be more important, should be an important part of the conversation. But it appears as if the government does not want to address the elephant in the room. And so, evidently, will return to talk about this yet again, but in the hope that it would not be when another round of kidnap has been recorded. And so we'll keep asking those questions, keep demanding accountability from the federal government and the state government on what approach it is really deploying to tackling insecurity. And don't forget that during the screening, the Senate screening of the new Minister of Defense, there were assurances from the new Minister of Defense that ransom will not be paid, that there will be no negotiation, unwholesome negotiations with kidnappers. And so is that what we're seeing now, if we're not seeing definitive action resulting in arrests of kidnappers, if we're not seeing engagement such that there is firepower that is exchanged and that also ensures the protection of children and soft targets that are being taken by the kidnappers. Well, let's make progress now on the program. But before we do that, we'll take a moment, and when we return, it'll be time to take the papers. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back, and it's time for newspaper review. Mr. Ifetayo Adeni, journalist, joined us now on the program for a review. Mr. Ifetayo, it's good to have you.
Good morning. And compliments of the season, and also wishing our Super Eagle a fantastic outing today.
Absolutely. And
it's 1-0. We need that 3 point to rally around and let Nigeria smile.
Okay, I can see you're wearing your jersey. Yes. So are you going to be playing fullback, or are you a striker this morning?
No, I'm a striker.
Okay, so we look forward to that.
Yeah.
It would be remiss of us not to start with the release of the abducted children. The final 130 have now returned. And how are you receiving that news?
Yes, amazing. It's fantastic. Just like I said in this from the other time, whatever it is government has done, whatever it is they are doing to make sure no one was lost, no one was missing, as in all of them were returned back at least to spend the Christmas or whatever with their family, is a good one. But I must say that there should be some form of arrest, there should be some form of prosecution, there should be some form of, just like you say, kind of maybe firepower, whatever they exchange, whatever it is, so that the citizen can also impose more confidence in the government that they are doing a fantastic job in keeping the nation safe and secure, especially in this season. So it's not just for us to react, but we should be proactive.
Indeed. We see a bit of that also. We must commend the security operatives for what have been the results that have been coming in the last 48 hours or so. But there is, of course, a need for more. Let's begin with the papers now and head to The Guardian, which will be our first this morning. The Guardian newspapers looks at something that has been concerning for Nigerians, especially Lagosians, in the last couple of months, or maybe, if you like, a year or two. Real estate investors wary as demolitions flatten over 2,500 houses. And you see there, very vivid imagery of the demolitions ongoing in some parts of the state. Mr. Ifetayo, take a look at the writer. State of recent demolition exercises in Oworonshoki and Mile 12. It looks as if it's also getting to Mile 12 now. I don't know how you're processing the displacement, reports of compensation that is abysmally insignificant to what those people have lost.
Yeah, so they used to say real estate is the real deal, and after you have put in so much effort, especially the investor hoping that they will recoup their investment, and also as an individual and a household who have put one or two things together to have a roof over their head, and suddenly everything was brought down. I don't want to know under the disguise, but as a responsive government, when it comes to compensation, I must give it to, during the time of, I think, Ekiti State Governor, Fayose. I remember, I think they want to do a kind of infrastructure. The first thing he did, he gave those people that were concerned that there's a new location. You take whether a 2-bedroom apartment, I can't recollect now. Do you prefer to move in there, or you take this also amount of money, so that there was choice placed before them before their houses were demolished? But suddenly you just wake up and you see tons, battalions of army, soldiers, whatever it is, and brought down the house. And Lagos State government, who pride itself as the economy hub of Africa, you know, looking for more investment. This kind of a thing discourage investment. I think the first thing they should do before any form of demolition, especially in that large scale, there should be a kind of conversation that, oh, there are options for you. If you have a duplex, this is what the government can do. If you have maybe a bungalow, this is what government or can do for you. Or we have a new site, whether in Ikorodu or Ekpe, 3-bedroom have been put in place if you want to be there before you get your, you know, but those things were not there, and it's not good for, but not just for the investor, because when they look at things like this, the first question they ask is, what is government doing about it? And those people are homeless. If we are talking about 2005, let's say minimum of 5 people living, you know, in one of those houses, 2005 times 5, we can do all the mathematics. Those who are rendered not, and very close to Christmas festive period. I think the government can still, you know, arrest the situation, offer them a kind of accommodation of why the compensation will be sorted out, not just to just leave them and let it sleep off like that. It discourages the investors.
Indeed, and you know, you're very accurate in your analysis also about the need for a human face to governance. Yeah. There are some people, according to reports, who have not even had their structures demolished, but because they are hearing about the inevitability of government getting to all areas in Oworonshoki, they have, you know, exited and left their properties that they, you know, secured with their hard-earned resources over the years and relocated to other areas. Yes,
government also need to come out and say this is the extent we are going, or whether it's a judgment from an individual, they should also interface. This is the extent they are going, you know, that thing can create a kind of panic, fear, you know, and some might even lose their life even before even the demolition, because thinking about it, hypertension and all of that. So government can still and make a hay while the sun shine, at least for those who their houses have not been touched, so that they won't just say kind of a fear or a panic or something,
and the loss as well. Yeah. Let's get to the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard highlights our first conversation from the last 24 hours on the show. Gazette furore: we didn't alter tax laws. That's according to the federal government. And there are riders which provide insight into the government's position on the alarm raised by the Honorable on the floor of the House last week. Adds it's NAS affair, that's a National Assembly affair. What we didn't pass can become law. Lawmakers, that's ascribed to lawmakers. Senators, reps sit today over controversial alterations. Others, ADP rights group demand thorough probe. And if you paid attention to our conversation yesterday with the chairman of the Tax Reform Committee, Mr. Oyedele, he provided some explanations that were reassuring that, what is being reported in the press as some of those alterations are actually fake news and came, from efforts to amend the law. But what do you believe to be the most plausible explanation to the emergence of report about discrepancies between what was passed and what has become law?
Yeah, first and foremost, I think government has not been transparent enough. If we said we want to, the tax law will become full-blown January 1st, and no government institution, no media has the assented document in their hand, look at it, civil organization, etc., etc. And also, I also believe that National Assembly, in as much as they are being called rubber stamp, this is high time they can prove that we are not. So what did you send to the Mr. President? from the presidency, what was it that the president assented his signature to? So those are the things should have become public document that we can then compare and say, why did you raise a foul cry and say that what you saw? And I'm sure even the security agency should have said, okay, this is what we obtained from the presidency, this is what we obtained. I remember there was a time, I won't want to mention, there was a document that had been gazetted, and I needed it for, a kind of consultation, and for me to get that, this document has been signed into law. Why will it take such time? So it's just to show that sometimes government, they are not transparent in their dealing. If not, the masses will have jumped at them. For example, now, I believe as at now, whether in Igbo, in Hausa, in Yoruba, Pidgin, English, there should be a kind of campaign saying, oh, if you earn 800,000 or minimum wage, you are not going to pay a dime. If you earn from this, different version of, so that the people can be informed. And even the Minister of Information is saying that he has not even seen the one that was sent by and these are our Minister of Information, and even the one assented. Who should have those documents first after Mr. President must have ascended to it. So it shows a kind of shady deal, but we just feel that let's follow what the chairman of tax presidential committee has said, that let the committee that was set up, let them come out and say, oh, this was what we sent, this was what had been assented to, because I'm sure they must send back a copy to the National Assembly, and they are going to sit on it today. So let's see what will unfold during their sitting today.
Despite the explanation, something is still not adding up.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Before we leave the Vanguard also, captures a subject that is just as important. Some of what, I tried to address at the beginning of the program. Diplomatic spat with U.S. on religious violence resolved. Of course, we heard the Minister of Information speaking to that effect yesterday. But how reassuring is the explanation provided as against what we are still seeing in terms of security and in terms of, the constant outcry from Christian communities in parts of the North Central that we are being targeted?
Yes, I think the government can do more. Let's also give kudos to the security agency who are putting in their best. But since the cry has coming from Christian community and where they are dominant in the northern part of Nigeria, I think the government can assure them by providing more security, to have an engagement with them, even if it's possible, build maybe a police or army barrack or police, just something to show that, oh, we are with you, nothing will ever happen again. And then also the international community will also take us serious, because if they mention now that you are doing it to this section of society, and anywhere there is an attack, it's going to be in that same community or religion or Christian community. So it shows that you are not doing anything, or you are being part of, or you are conniving with those people to perpetrate such evil act. But they need to reassure the international community, especially making sure that Christian community and other religion who are being attacked, to make sure that they are properly secure, because the responsibility of government is to secure those safety of life and property is very paramount. So they should need to do that. If you want to relocate, build police barrack, whatever, or just do that, so at least give some kind of assurance.
And we could also draw attention to the number of Nigerians that are still in internally displaced persons camps in many parts of the North Central, in Plateau State, in I believe Benue State, and in parts of the Northeast as well. These are very, very loud evidence proving that indeed there are significant security concerns. And there's also the constitutional bit of it that the U.S. Congressman has drawn attention to, how we have blasphemy laws that are components of our constitution in a state that is supposed to be secular. Well, let's head over to Just one more paper now, and that will be This Nigeria. This Nigeria takes a departure from the others to look at something equally important. FG makes drug tests mandatory for jobs. Policy targets substance abuse, raises civil service integrity questions. Mr. Adif.
Yes, of course, sometimes when you see the way some of these our leaders behave, sometimes you're like, are they on drug, or I beg your pardon, or I stand to be corrected? Because it's a good one in the right direction, also to curb the abuse of drugs in the society. Let me use a phrase for a former president that if you don't kill corruption, corruption will kill you. If you don't kill drug abuse, it's going to ruin the life of our future generation, especially the youth. And of course, it's not just because of somebody's looking for a job. They can set up a committee task force, you know, from every local government, state coordinator, so that they liaise and also reorientate our people that the use of substance or drugs is a detriment to your health. Is, you know, it can't take you anywhere, because we are not seeing much of it, and just writing it, you know, on the body of let's say tobacco smoking is dangerous to health. It's not enough. They need to talk about it on radio, on television, campaign, billboard, just like the way they do when they are running for office or running an election. So they should do more of orientation, especially to our school. Let there be a club in schools, primary, secondary, high institution, you know, set up talking about the dangers of drug abuse, etc., etc. And of course, for an individual, sometimes you want to take paracetamol and say, the doctor will say take 2, say 2, no, they work for me until I take 3, you know. So those are the things they need to check. There was a time I was told some people went to go and bring some substandard drugs, you know, LabDac need to look at it. They write on the body 500 milligram. Meanwhile, it only has a capacity for 200 milligram. All those things should be put into test, not just telling the public alone that before you get a job, you need to go through. And when they know what comes from it, I think they might refrain or they might desist from abusing any form of drugs.
You know, Mr. Dini, it's the writer that unsettles me.
Okay.
The writer says policy targets substance abuse, raises civil service integrity questions. So does that mean that there's something else, you know, that is informing this policy approach to ensuring the stability and sanity of characters that are in the civil service that we do not know about? So if those are the issues there, is it, you know, this mandatory drug test alone that will address it, or there is something, you know, else that must be done to address it beyond this?
Yes. Like if you discover there are some organs in the system, civil society, rehabilitation, you know, they do that all abroad, whether you are working or you are still seeking for a job and all of that. I'm sure the reason why they said there should be a drug test before you get any job, so that to prevent a lot of them coming to the system. If you have discovered such in the system, take them through rehabilitation. I don't believe that I should publicly shame them. Maybe some were being introduced, and a kind of a reform, a kind of a rehabilitation should be put in place. And also let there be a law, not just saying it that if you are found wanting again, these are the penalty, this is what you are going to, maybe expulsion, or you are going to be relief of your duty, etc., etc. So like they say, when there's no law, there's no crime. So if they make it a crime for you to engage in such substances, you are going to face the wrath of law. I think some people will desist from doing so. And of course, whoever it is that is introducing, maybe whether you are at the top level or you are at the same cadre with your staff and saying, oh, let's go and relax and all of that, all those things should be spelled out, not just introducing the dog. Let there be a penalty that if you engage thereafter from so date and date, you are going to be penalized for substance use.
Indeed. There's one more story at the bottom strip of this Nigerian newspaper, and it's, you know, focusing on education. NEL Fund, over 150 billion naira spent on 788,000 students. Tinubu directs security agencies to end kidnapping of students. But Of course, there's a security bit of it, and we've seen that, quite a number of times in the course of 2025. But the scheme itself, which is, as Jeffrey would say, the poster child of this administration, have the benefits outweighed the odds so far since implementation began, when you consider the number of, students that we have as against the number of applications and, students that have secured the loans so far?
I've not seen it across, but just like I said earlier on, sometimes there are some certain things that maybe the government or the people that are meant to oversee such a fund or such initiative have not been transparent enough to say these are the number of people who have benefited from this state. We have so number of people. Sometimes it might be a publication, that this one has gotten 20 naira, that one has gotten 15 naira, this one has paid their fees, or they are paid for their project, or whatever it is they are doing. They should be transparent with it, because sometimes when they mention some figure, like ABBA, even if they are giving them 50 million a student, what are we talking about? So they need to do more in the way they do their disbursement. Who are the people collecting this money? Are they real students, or are they come up with a name because you belong to this political class or you belong to that political? But it's a good initiative if it can be fully implemented across board, and I think they should do it state by state. Or this state, we've allotted out of this 150 billion. Lagos State got so billion, the students in this state, so that people will know that what goes to which state, what student or which school has gotten so much. And also the school as well, they should publish the name of those who have benefited from it. So that one we make Nigerians, especially students, to have confidence and say, yes, government is doing the right thing, because I'm still asking, who are those people that got all this 150 billion? Because I've not seen that. It has never matched, even though it's a laudable initiative, but I've not seen the number of students benefiting from over 150 billion naira. 150 billion naira is not a small money.
And you see the federal government have a firm grasp over the scheme, when you consider that, with the introduction and the receipt of funds by students, those who are benefiting, there's also a corresponding increase in school fees in, the higher institutions concerned.
Yes, they can if they want to. For example, if a student is in 200 level, 300 level, there should be a quarterly meeting, maybe with the VC, the bursary of each higher institution that we have, to liaise with them that just because we say we are giving a student loan does not give you courage to just 100% increment. Yes, we know there are some increment, maybe in infrastructure, in those who move from point A to point B, or to discharge your duty, but 40%, 60% is just too much for a student to bear. So those are the conversations they should be having. Involve students, involve civil organizations, so that those are the people that can defend you. And also what I will have advised the government is they should localize it. When I mean localize it, how many institutions do we have in Lagos State, higher institution? So in this institution, at least maybe 100 million, whatever it is. Let's see people who are applying from your school, who are bona fide students, provide us with their NIN, provide us with this, so that you can't say you get from school A, then your name, because you are well connected, they'll be put in school B. Just like I met someone in London who said that he still receive a kind of, what we talk about when we talk about ghost worker, still receive salary from somewhere in this country, and it's no longer with us here. So those are the things can be, dealt with and removed, so that they should be transparent with it, and the Nigerian will support them.
Indeed, and we hope that there'll be more gains from the loan scheme, maybe even some alterations that will also, enable ease for the students to benefit from the scheme in the coming year. But before we let you go, Mr. Adeni, let's talk about the Super Eagles, and of course you're prepared.
I'm rooting for them.
Speaking of which, this is just coming in. The Eagles have received title documents, Super Eagles now, title documents to houses, land, and national honor certificates promised by President Bola Tinubu. And that's coming ahead of their opening match. They formally received certificates for national honors and title documents to housing allocations in either Abuja or Lagos, and of course land grants in Abuja. The presentation was made by the chairman of the National Sports Commission, Mr. Shehu Diko, alongside other members of the delegation, comprising Senate Committee Chairman on Sports, Senator Abductions, the House Committee Chairman on Sports, Honorable Kabiru Amadu, and the Controller General of Customs, Mr. Bashir Adewale Adeni. Mr. Diko, that's the NSC Chairman, clarified that all players will receive the title of MON, I believe that's Member of the Order of the Niger, except Hamed Musa and Victor Osimhen, that are awarded OON honors on account of having had an MON earlier, while William Troost Ekong is awarded MFR for being named as player of the tournament. So when you call those names henceforth, call them with some panache, because they now have titles to their names: OON, MON, MFR. So let's get some news from the actualities during the presentation. And so those are the certificates being presented. If we can see a close shot, but we will just have to accept that they're either certificates of their titles, their new titles, and land documents being presented to them. And so there you have Victor Osimhen, Super Eagles International, OON, Order of the Niger, and of course other members of the team as well, being presented with their award, their reward for the last AFCON.
Yes.
So this is undoubtedly, I believe, super motivation as they head into the next AFCON, I believe, Mr.
Yes,
Adeni.
very well. They said not just saying it, but you must walk the talk. And the federal government has promised, and they fulfill it on time, which is very motivation, a booster for them for their opening match today. Like I said, I'm rooting for them 1-0. We must win that game at least. So it's a good one. Not just after 20 years, that's when you will remember to fulfill that promises and all of that. And I'm sure the Super Eagles, they should also, reciprocate by giving us all their best, and we've put World Cup behind us. Let's see what will happen, since they've submitted a petition too. But if we have done our job, we won't find ourselves in this. But kudos to the federal government fulfilling the promises and making sure they come at the right time. I don't know whether you listened to Mikel Obi a few days ago saying that during their qualifying, they are going for a match and the allowances were not paid. He was having conversation with NFF and all of that, all those bureaucracy. He had to call former late chief of staff to President Buhari, who said, don't worry, Mikel, that what is happening? He said, yes, and they brought everything to them at the camp. Everybody will pay cash, take your and he gave them a kind of morale. So they don't need to play politics with our sport. It's one of the things that bind us, that bring us together, regardless whether you are Christian or Muslim or whatever it is that you practice. So they shouldn't toy with such a thing, and whatever allowances they need to be given, they should give them, and let Nigerians smile once again. I just wish we would bring the couple.
Well, I'm with you on that one, but cautiously so. Because of what has happened in the past. But finally, beyond I call this a super morale booster as they head into, their first game later today. But what about administration itself in relation to preparation? Are we going to be looking at seeing the Super Eagles playing with cohesion, seeing the time of deployment to camp and the limited time of training that we have had so far?
Yeah, I believe most of them are professional. They've been together, which is a plus for them. It's not that just like a month or 2 weeks to the tournament, we are now looking for one of our players who is coming. We are seeing fresh face and all of that. So I think it's a morale booster. They should give their best, just like I said. And they've been training together. We just had World Cup qualifiers and some tournament. I think that one should be enough and make Nigeria proud once again. And of course, the NFF, they should also be transparent when it comes to their dealing. That's what we've been talking about, transparency, doing things, shady deal, FIFA release also amount of money, CAF release also amount of money, $1 million is going for administration, $2 million is for the player. So with that, nobody is hiding anything. But if you are hiding anything in secrecy, even if you have good intention, people will tend to time it. So NFF should do better when it comes to transparency and giving of information. So that will help them a lot and also boost their image, that they are not, don't let me use the word corrupt, or they are not being sincere in dealing with those players. That's why they don't take them serious once in a while.
Absolutely. We don't want to see any curious videos of poor welfare
of course.
trailing this round of AFCON. But I believe we have some sound bites to help us get a feel of what may be going through the minds of the administrators and some of the players in camp. Let's take that, and then we'll be back to wrap up the newspaper review segment.
The camp is very high, very energized. This game is very important for us. We have to assess the momentum. So the guys are really ready, everyone is ready, from the players to the staff, and everyone is really focused on this game, which is very important. So it is a game that we're ready to play today. Yeah, the new boys they're just coming. They've blended so well with the help of the senior players, the staff, the manager. They blended so well because we're all football players, irrespective of where we play, age, position we play. We're all football players, and we're here to represent the country. We're all focused on one goal, so which is important, and everyone, as I said earlier, everyone is in tune. Everyone is ready for this, and there's no senior player, young player. We're just one group who is ready for the fight we have coming.
The game, the tournament, the players, and our game. Our game project. So we stay focused on that. We stay focused on the first game because this is the most important game right now to come in this tournament to show our ambitions.
Really in tune of what happened in the previous AFCON in the not qualifying for the World Cup. So everyone is focused on this one. It's just like an opportunity in your hand.
There you have it, the Super Eagles, and of course, new captain Wilfred Ndidi speaking there following the retirement of former captain William Troost Ekong. And we also saw coach Eric Schell speaking there. So all of their energies are now channeled into AFCON. And let's see just how well the Super Eagles will perform this time. But they have our backing all through. I must anchor at this point and thank you very much, Mr. Ifetayo Adini.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here once again. And Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. I just wish we can.
Welcome back. It's still the morning brief, your perfect morning starter on Channels Television. Let's head to Niger State now as we feel the pulse of the people of Papiri community, of course, through one of the representatives of that community following the release of the remaining 130 children. Mr. Dan Atori, the media aide to the proprietor and bishop of the Kontagora Diocese, St. Mary's Catholic Church, joins us now. Mr. Dan Atori, good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And thank you indeed for the sacrifice that you have made to, appear this morning. We understand that you were in transit.
Thank you for all the job you've been doing. Honestly, kudos to the media, every one of us. It's a collective effort. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. And, I said earlier that all is well, that now ends well for St. Mary's Catholic School in Papiri. Talk to us about the high points of the release of the children yesterday and the current state, of the children, whether they've been reunited with their families or not.
Okay, well, firstly, I want to say a very big thank you to God Almighty, and thank you to the bishop who has not been unwavered. Thank you to Mr. President, the governor, the security agencies, everywhere, many Nigerians, the media. This has been our prayers that the children and the teachers be released and get united with their families. As of yesterday, the children, 130 of them were released, including teachers, and handed over to the governor. And it was a sigh of relief for us. There is no better Christmas gift that we would have requested for than to have these children. And I'm sure you've seen the videos, the pictures all over, where we have children under 10, who have been in captivity for over a month. However, we must say that all is well with us at the moment, and we are grateful to Mr. President, the governor, security agencies for keeping to their words. When the NSA, Malam No Ribadu, visited, he gave this assurance that all the children and the teachers are doing well, and they'll be back soon, safe and unhurt. And when we received this figure, this 130 yesterday, we were very, very happy. At the government house. But today, by the grace of God, hopefully, these children and teachers will be reunited with their families in Papiri. Of course, some of them are in faraway communities. From Papiri to these communities, you could drive up to 3, 4, 5 hours to get to these communities. So we are hoping today that the children will be moved to that axis. So it's a joyous feeling. We are very happy. The mood is a happy one. Yeah.
I was saying that we share in your joy at this moment. So let's get a sense of the numbers now. Can we say from this last batch of release that all 315 students and teachers abducted have now been released?
Well, I can't categorically tell you that because not until we get back to do a final verification, because when you have discrepancies with figures, one has to be very, very careful. We're talking about data. You can also recall that the federal government had come out to say it was 115 that is remaining, but now we have 130. So we can't just jump into conclusion. We are happy for this figure. And as soon as we get back, because as of last week, we were still on with verification, doing the head count. Remember that the parents were asked to come put down their names on the register. Most of them turned up. And we also discovered that it's possible some didn't come up. And when you have issues like that, just like when your house is on fire, you don't chase the rats that you have seen. You need to save your life first. You need to do all you can to save lives. So that we are in that situation right now. We are happy, and not until we get back to Papiri in our local government, where we now have all the parents come to now do the final verification. That way we can come out with a concluding figure. Tentatively, who would say that we will hold on to the federal government who is saying this is the last number of persons that have been released. But by the grace of God, before the week runs out, I'm very, very certain that we will come out with a very concrete and final figure. I will just pray it tallies with what we have already. I don't want to preempt us. I don't want to give a figure, or we don't want to give a figure where tomorrow will come again and we'll tell you, no, I think one person is remaining, or 2 or 3 or 5 persons they are remaining. So, but we are happy with this figure, and we just hope when we get back to Papiri, we'll be able to, do the final head count and verification exercise alongside with the parents.
All right. Let's talk about something, that may have been overshadowed as a result of the kidnap, the education of these young ones. From my estimation, they may have spent about 3 weeks in captivity since the time of their kidnap. How has schooling been impacted, exams, and those related issues?
Well, education is the bedrock of the society. I must tell you this. I will use Papiri, St. Mary's Private Catholic School as a case study. If you have been to that axis, you will understand that, in fact, you can't take away education from these children. You can see the joy in them. Before this kidnap, these children, they are happy. They come from neighboring communities, over 50 communities that school serve. If you stop education, you are killing the society. If you stop the children from going to school, you can imagine the kind of people you are going to groom. The society should be prepared. So I want to say this without fervency and all sense of seriousness. The federal government this federal and state government needs to do all they can, all within their disposal, to ensure that that school still functions. Education is not joked with in Niger State, in fact, across the country. You need to go to Papiri, you need to see the school. In fact, all the children, the 100 that were released, all of them, when you have one-on-one talk with them, they want to go back to school. They still want to continue with their education. They have ambition. Some of them want to be president, some of them want to be governor, some of them want to be senators, some of them want to be doctors, engineers. So do you not cut short their visions? Do you not cut their aspirations? Because we have some threats that we believe that the federal government, the state government, and of course the security agencies can handle. Like I said earlier, this is a collective effort. All we need to do is to come together, because the moment we start joking or handling our educational sector with levity, so many things will go wrong.
Mr. Tori,
because we are talking about the future of our country, the future of the state.
Mr. Tori, specifically, these young ones, did they miss exams, following this kidnap? Did they miss tests? And how will they make up for it?
Yes.
And how concerned, are their parents about their schooling, particularly after this kidnap? Surely their parents must have concerns about safety.
Yes. Now, I'll tell you this. When the government, I think it was prior to, I think we had just a week into the examinations. The children didn't do their exams. They were preparing for their exams, and it's a time, a whole time. The most important thing is the learning process. They've been able to acquire the knowledge at the time before the incident. It was just a week we were waiting for them to do their exams. But that wouldn't stop them. By the time we resume next session, by next year, by the grace of God, when the school reopens with enough security in that environment, we could come up with a test. The test, this is first term. This is first term. So that's not an issue. And then for the parents are still very, very hopeful. They believe in the educational sector. When you go to that environment, you listen to the people there, you listen to parents, they tell you that it can happen anywhere. But all they are calling for is that security is beefed up. Let us have a military post. Let us have, formidable checkpoints where the people in that environment can live with their eyes closed. Children can go to school without fear of being kidnapped, So for us, the term had already come almost to an end. We're just waiting for the exams to take place before the incident.
Now, during an earlier interaction on our sister political program with the bishop of your diocese, he had, explained, reports coming through from the children following their release that this round of kidnapping, or this particular kidnap, has more to do with economic reasons than religious reasons, because from the interaction with the children, they heard, according to the bishop, the bandits saying that they should kidnap more children so that they can get more money. Is there more coming from the last round of release following interactions with the children to suggest the thinking of the bandits and the kidnappers who are perpetrating these heinous crimes?
Yeah. So if I got you correctly, you are asking if it has a religious undertone, or if it's for financial gains.
Absolutely.
Now, the bishop was very correct, very, very correct, because these are our children. When while they were in captivities, before they were captured, when these guys came to the school, they heard their voice saying, "Let's pack these children, pack them enough money, we'll make enough money," And when you hear things like that, you understand that this has to do with business. I won't be the one to say there was a ransom, or there was something exchange hands, or money exchange hands, and all that. But that was what we were made to understand. So there's no religious coloration with this, because there was nothing, no information to that. But all we had was that they were saying on that day when the children were, captured, that let us.
Oh dear, there's been an interruption, a very unwelcome one, particularly during a critical part of the conversation with Mr. Dan.
As much as we can, because this is enough money. Hello?
It seems, yes, we can hear you now. Conclude your thoughts so that I can come in with my final question. Mr. Tori, can you hear me? Mr. Tori?
Yes.
Yes, conclude your thoughts.
Yes, I can hear you. Well, we are most grateful to God Almighty. We are very, very grateful to all Nigerians, especially Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the National Security Advisor, all the security apparatus. We are grateful to Mr. Governor. We thank everyone, all the body of Christ, the parish. I mean, I can't thank the media. I want to say a very big thank you to Chinese Television for all that you've been doing. Thank you to all our colleagues, and Merry Christmas. And we hope that this number is a last figure after we do our final verification exercise, 8 count. Thank you for having me.
And lastly, before you go, in the last 3 weeks, how can you describe the state of security in Papiri community and indeed in other areas of Niger State, especially against the backdrop of this kidnappings?
Well, thanks to God, Mr. President, he has prioritized security, and I think we can only pray that we have military posts. If there's a military post in Papiri, in Agora local government, that will give hope to the people. However, you can see we have improved security in Agora local government, but Papiri, that school serves over 50 communities. I'm saying this, you can go there and verify. Over 50 communities, people who come from, 3, 4, 5 hours by road driving, they bring their children, their wards to the school. So if we have security built up in that place, it will give these children confidence and give the parents, people in that community, enough confidence to, want to come to school. So security, for now, we can't say it has really been beefed up, but because of Papiri is already in the map, international map, so probably that's why our attention is there. But they should just beef up security in Papiri, especially, and the environs, so that we don't have a repeat of what has happened.
And that is very, very important information that has come through from you being a member of the community, and we hope that this gets to those who should know, such that more security can be provided, more installations, more infrastructure can be provided for members of the community. Mr. Dan Aturi, we would like to thank you very much for coming on the program, for sparing time during your journey.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Dan
Thank
Aturi.
you so much.
Dan Aturi is the media aide to Bishop Bulus Yohana, the proprietor of St. Mary's Catholic School, where 313 children were kidnapped, who have now been released and reunited. Most of them reunited with their families, of course, with the exception of 130 who have been released to the Niger State government yesterday. Thank you, Mr. Aturi.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a moment now. When we return, it will be time to touch on environmental matters as we interact with the local government chairman of Kana local government in Rivers State, following oil spill in Kana local government, and which, informed the visit of the National Security Advisor to that area yesterday. Stay with us for this one. We'll be right back. Welcome back. And so let's head to Rivers State now for that very critical conversation on the oil spill from Yola Wellhead. And joining us now is Mr. Barriere Thomas. Mr. Barriere Thomas is the chairman, Kana local government area in Rivers State. Mr. Thomas, thank you for holding on and welcome to the morning brief.
Good morning, Nadia sister. Sorry, please, Dr. Thomas.
Dr. Thomas, welcome to the program. So let's begin with the visit by the NSA, and this comes months after the oil spill. How reassuring is this visit, and of course the assurances to end oil spill in Rivers State?
Weeks after the oil spill, not months after the oil spill, weeks after the oil spill.
Okay, pardon me.
Yes, we are.
Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. We are very, very grateful to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and of course the National Security Advisor. This visit is rare. The National Security Advisor has proven to the people of Kana, and by extension Ogoni, that indeed the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is walking the talk. He came, he saw things for himself, and of course gave certain position statements which are of course reassuring. The NSA did assure the people of Kana and Ogoni that the president is committed to seeing to the implementation of the report of the dialogue committee submitted months ago. And of course, he did pay visit to the projects that have been implemented as part of the confidence building process. He also warned the companies, that is NNPC, and of course those that are supposed to see to the security of oil facilities in the area, that never again should they lower their guard so much such that this spill will be allowed to continue. Of course, we are very happy because we know that with this visit, a lot will be unfolding. Yes, the dialogue committee did a robust consultation. And of course, I can say for free that what is before Mr. President is a holistic reflection of what the people of Kana and Ogoni expect if oil resumption must commence. However, we have certain concerns about the implementation process. You have a committee that is saddled with the responsibility of going around to get inputs from communities regarding how issues that has to do with environment, economy will be addressed. That phase has been completed and it is before Mr. President. Where we are now is the phase of implementation, meaning the strategy has to be different. Community members, youth representatives, elected officials at the local government level, at the state, and at the national will have to, because this strategy, as it is now, has to be broadened so that no facet of the society is left out. Remember.
Okay, before we begin to talk about, pardon me, sir,
yes.
Before we begin to talk about strategy, let's get the facts correctly. This round of oil spill, you say, started just weeks ago. Is it the same as the one that was reported from Pian community, pardon me if I didn't get the name correctly, which happened in August? And let us know if that has been addressed besides this latest round of oil spill that has now necessitated the visit of the NSA. Did you get my question?
Say again, say again.
You say this round of oil spill occurred weeks ago. Is it different from the one that happened in Pian community in August? And has that been addressed? This one we're dealing with that has necessitated the visit of the NSA, I believe, is the Yola wellhead that spilled.
Pian community.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pian community. Oil wells around Yola oil field in Pian community from time to time used to experience explosion. Remember, the Yola oil field has several oil wells. The one that necessitated the visit of the National Security Advisor is one that occurred in Yola oil field by well 14. It is being addressed, and as I speak, it has been capped. Equipment, experts, they are on site.
Okay, so that supports the position that there was an oil spill that occurred in August that is being addressed according to your confirmation now. Now, some say it is as a result of negligence. Okay, I believe Mr. Thompson, Dr. Thompson, is listening to me. I hope we get him back. There's been some network interruption. Now, there are some reports that this oil spill... pardon me, sir. There are some reports that this latest round of oil spill is as a result of negligence. Others say that there is suspicion, a very good reason to suspect that is also as a result of sabotage. Now, as a key member of the community, in fact, the local government chairman in that area, what exactly is responsible? Is it negligence or sabotage?
Well,
okay, I do hope that we get Mr. Barriere, or if you like, Dr. Barriere back shortly, such that we can have a more robust conversation and get clarity on the issues. If indeed this is about sabotage, not necessarily about negligence. How strong is surveillance of wellheads, of pipelines in those communities, such that this can be prevented in the future? And of course, this also has a very significant impact on conversations about the resumption of oil drilling in Ogoni land, following what happens to be a very checkered history. Mr. Dr. Barriere, I believe you are back now. You were clarifying for us whether this has to do with negligence or sabotage.
Yes, we have said this particular spill is as a result of sabotage. And as a local government in charge of grassroots governance, we have activated all security architecture to involve communities in ensuring that oil facilities are secured. This exactly we have done by engaging youth around the area. And of course, it has to be continuous, because we cannot be expecting government to be putting structures in place to address environmental issues, and at the same time, we are the ones that will from time to time sabotage government effort. We say no to it, we condemn it in its entirety, and we are informing those saddled with responsibility of securing oil facilities to up their game, to involve community dwellers. Yes, people are charged with the responsibility of providing security to oil installations. They must do so with indigenes of the communities where these facilities are located, because community policing in securing oil facilities is key. So as a local government, we are supporting youths across different communities where there are oil facilities to ensure that their eyes are on the ground and those who are involved in oil theft are brought to book.
Where do you believe the sabotage is coming from? And can it have been executed without some form of connivance with the locals in the community? Did you get my question, sir? Again, network appears to be, interrupting in a very unwelcome manner our conversation this morning, where, environmental degradation is a very, very big talking point, an unsettling one at that, in Ogoni land in Rivers State, not just in Ogoni land, in the entire stretch of the Niger Delta area. Besides Ogoni land, just weeks ago, a report came from our correspondent about gas leakage in another part of Rivers State, in Bile community, to be precise. And we wonder if that has been addressed as well, because that also compelled, some form of attention on the floor of the National Assembly. But let's return to Kana local government area now. We hope the chairman is back to continue his talking point. I was asking... I'm
here.
Yes, brilliant. I was asking where you think the sabotage is coming from, and can it have been executed without some form of connivance with the locals who know the ins and outs of locations of pipelines, of oil wells in your community?
Well, that's neither near here nor there. Truth is this: there are criminals everywhere. There are those who will stop at nothing to commit crime. That's why security operatives are there. That's why the oil surveillance, oil facility surveillance is there. That's why the local governments are there. That's why community dwellers are there. Crime concerns the tribe. And that is why we are saying the only way to put a final stop to all of this is resumption of oil in Ogoni land. Because we are aware that if there's oil resumption, people will be engaged, people will be living around those oil facilities, and all of this would have been a thing of the past. And so you cannot have a situation where, from time to time, people who are criminal-minded will cause oil explosion because they want to cut away oil through the back door. That's what we have been experiencing. And these are most of the persons that will say, no, we do not agree that there should be no oil resumption. We have destroyed, in a couple of years past, a lot of illegal oil refining sites, otherwise known as bunkering sites. And our efforts are still on the way to ensure that, because, the terrain is so difficult to assess. But as a local government, we are doing everything possible to ensure that our eyes are on the ground to watch out for oil criminals. That we have been doing. So, but again, the only way this will become to a final stop is that there is oil resumption in Ogoni land, where these facilities will be manned by those whose business is to do that on daily basis. Because what we have at the moment is surveillance from a distance. Surveillance from a distance, which does not guarantee effective security of these facilities. And so we're looking forward to seeing a situation where we will continue to synergize at various levels with security operatives, with those who are charged with responsibility of surveillance, so that oil facilities will be properly secured in and around our environment.
All right. If I get you correctly, you are advocating a resumption of oil exploration. I'd wonder if this contrasts with the position expressed by environmental activists in your area, in Rivers State, who wants the decommissioning of obsolete oil facilities, because according to them, some of these oil wells, the oil spill are coming from rust and corroded, equipment that have been left unattended to to for a very long time. But clearly, it's an ongoing conversation, and we must anchor at this point, and of course also amplify your position that there must be a collective strategy approach to tackling issues of oil degradation, spillage, and of course
the point is this:
environmental degradation in River State.
Point is,
all right. We must anchor at this point. We hope that when next we have this conversation, we'll have better network. We've been talking with Dr. Barere Thomas, Chairman, Kana Local Government Area in River State. Thank you for coming through on this particular one. And so we'll take a moment now. When we return, it will be time to talk sports. Our correspondent Cecilia Omorogwe joins us shortly. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. And just before we begin sports, let's quickly look at the economy. And Professor Ken Ife joins us to examine the 2026 budget proposal presented by President Bola Tinubu just last week. Professor Ken Ife, thank you for joining us on the program.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Yes, it's good to have you again. But before we begin to look at the parameters as against the realities of those parameters ahead of next year, let's look at what is very critical. And President Tinubu acknowledged the concern over the continuing rollover of budgets. And, this is the reality as captured in one of the reports. This extends the budgetary carryovers begun in 2023, as only 20% of the capital components of 2025 budget have been released as at August 2025. And so we have 2023 supplementary budget, 2024 and 2025 budgets still running, and we have now had a presentation of 2026 budget. Surely this is chaotic. Professor Ife, how does this rollover of 3 budgets impact on 2026 appropriation bill?
See, look, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, they owe profound apology to the president. And whoever supervises the budget directorate also owes strong apology to the government. Tinubu doesn't need this nonsense. He doesn't need it entering into an election year. Just look at all the things he has achieved. All of them were done clean. Is there anything on the central bank arena that is not clean and clear, visible? Why bring politics into budget and planning, and then, showing influence over National Assembly? In fact, they owe apologies to National Assembly, because National Assembly does not originate budget. Budget is originated by budget and planning, and then taken all the way through. Now, let me give you one thing. This is done without regard to fiscal law that controls budget. We have FRA 2007, a law that actually tells you what to do. 4 months before the budget year, you begin your process. I mean, every year I speak to this conference of all the people all over the country, these budget officers and accounting officers. I speak to them. It's a presentation. So we talk about this. It begins at least 4 months before the period. Now, secondly, this has taken us 10 years back. It has taken, this thing they're doing has taken us 10 years back. Throughout the period of Ben Akabwe, we had discipline. You see, budget and planning is a professional disciplined area where you do what the law says you should do. But everything done here, we are done outside the rules of the law, after the ambit of the law. You have to have budget appraisal, performance review. Where is the performance review? We're looking for this. How can you move into a new budget without having performance review of the previous budget? And then you come into the budget, but when you do fiscal strategy paper, there are things that are common sense. You cannot go and take a price that is above a price benchmark that is above the predicted prices of who do you predict. We usually use American Energy Information Agency, and the others anyway. What have they projected? They projected at the end of this year, the price of the crude will be $68. But going into next year, first quarter, it will be 52. The second quarter, 54, third quarter, 54, 58. That is where it's going to rest. And then you see Senate coming and saying to you, please, let's use $60 benchmark, which is even reasonable, but they've hacked it up to 64.5. Now, normally, in budget balance, you prepare budget benchmark below the projected prices of the crude over the next 3 years. And the reason of putting it there is to have a headroom between the budget benchmark and the actual price. That headroom enables you to have accretion to excess crude account, and then from there, accretion to reserves. From the reserve, you defend the currency. But this is completely thrown out. People are just intuitively putting any figure that they like. There's no basis for what they are doing. I'm telling you, then you come to debt. You just, according to the Nigerian fiscal position, which is really beautiful today, you have trade, positive balance of trade over $6.6 trillion. You have positive balance of payment over $5.8 billion. You have all those. Anything, look at the debt service ratio, all favorable. You can borrow more. But borrow within the book and stop embarrassing the president going into an election. You are just creating Achilles heel for the president to be attacked going into an election. You don't need all this. Follow the law. The law says, okay, you want to borrow how many billions? 15 billion Japanese yen, $21.5 billion dollars. Follow the law. You will still borrow all that, but follow the law. And I remember that on many of your programs, I have always said, don't borrow money to pay out. So go and use your own internally generated revenue to distribute.
Yeah, and you're right, Professor Ife. This touches on fiscal discipline. This year, we've seen contractors protest non-payment at the National Assembly. We've heard Mr. President lament the owing of 1.5 trillion naira contractors to contractors. We've heard the National Assembly talk about the non-remittance of trillions of naira to the Federation account by the CBN. We've had all those issues. But what we've also heard from the Minister of Finance is that concerns about funding is attributed to revenue shortfall. But Professor Ife, what we've also heard is that the FIRS has surpassed its target by trillions of naira, making cumulatively about 46 trillion naira in 2 years.
But that doesn't happen to be the case.
Yes, so how should we be processing the explanation by the Minister of Finance that, lack of funding for the 2025 budget is as a result of revenue shortfall when we're recording customs exceeding its target, FIRS exceeding their target?
No, you see, it doesn't add up. Let me tell you why it doesn't add up. First of all, at the heart of it is indiscipline in the budgeting process. You have ended up over-bloating the budget. How did you over-bloat the budget? One, the budget benchmark was totally unrealistic. You couldn't go to $75 when you are going to be selling crude at 65. You can't do that. Now, when you do that, and then you have a production volume of 2 million per barrel when you are doing 1.4, that is recklessness. Because when you multiply that 2 by $75, you land at a bogus figure. And what does it tell you? One, you go and exceed the law on deficit. That deficit to GDP ratio, you've exceeded that. That's the law. Number two, when you create a bogus budget now, you have given incentive to anything and everything to happen in the Ministry of Finance and all that stuff and the National Assembly. You have created that confusion. That is the rules of the confusion. But there are two damages that you are going to do. One, you are going to borrow more than you will require. And then, unfortunately, the borrowing has been domestic borrowing, which is very expensive. When you are doing domestic borrowing at 18%, you are crowding out private sector investment because they are going to be rushing in to buy those treasury bills. In addition to the fact that the CBN has withdrawn from domestic finance intervention, manufacturers are suffering. Now you are pulling up the remaining money from them to go and buy treasury bill. You've killing the economy. Then second is you should go to multilateral loans. Now the second point is you are actually refusing to fund projects. Because what you are doing here is that if you look at the pecking order, the payment pecking order, number one is first line charges. Loan is paid. Debt service, you pay that debt service. Two, you pay salaries. If you don't pay salaries, workers are on the street. Then maybe you pay for defense. Otherwise, they will kidnap more people and all that. You pay for defense. By the time you did those ones, you haven't got any money to pay capital. Then you will be achieving, by December, you've achieved almost 100% on the current expenditure, and then you have only less than 10% on capital. Then you move it to March. Then March to June, from June to December. That is the force of it, is the poor budgeting discipline. That is the root cause. And because you have bloated the budget, everybody is now prioritizing. You know, you see from AATF office, from presidency, everybody, they are all there because there is a crash. Everybody is looking for money when the money is not there. That is the cause of it. Then you now start bringing other things. I know there's issue about who exactly is now supervising the budget office, and then are you reconciling the waivers with the budget provision? Are you there are many things there, but the root of it is budget indiscipline. And that's what we need to tackle. You don't need this nonsense. If the budget is for 40, okay, from what the senators have proposed, if you are using the price benchmark of $60 that they propose, our aggregate revenue would be about 34.33 billion. But they've shifted it now. They said what they've agreed is 64.85, which is giving us an aggregate revenue of total expenditure of 58.18 trillion. Now, that figure is not going to stand. You cannot be doing 64. They are doing 64.85 because they are looking at the projected price this quarter of $68. But what happens next quarter? Next quarter is dropping to $52, $54, $58. So why are you doing this?
And that's a
You should be putting the budget looking forward from what the EIA has told you. You go down to 50.
Yeah.
Go down to 50. What is wrong in having being below the budget line? After 6 months, you can review your budget after 6 months, and then take it up.
Yeah,
but
Prof.
why are you doing this?
Prof, and that's a stark reality, because if crude oil price is going to drop, is the federal government going to achieve its expected revenue target of 34 trillion naira? And you've been hammering on fiscal discipline. So shall we now begin to question the expertise of our budget planners at the Ministry of Budget and the Ministry of Finance? But very quickly, what is also equally important... Let me just land on this one. Let me land on this one. Talk to us about the sectoral allocation and, of course, the what has been allocated to, you know, the 2026 capital component of the budget as against what we had in 2025.
Well, the thing is this. What they have allocated is a combination, because what I've done, that 70% unspent capital budget is now added to the capital budget of 2020. So what you now have is a figure of 26.08 trillion, which is about 50% or something. But it is a combination of 2 years of capital budget, and you're still not going to spend that money. Because in the end of the day, what we are doing, that we are crowding out private sector investment with excessive loan, and then the people are so low in the pecking order that they don't even get a look in. And in the end of the day, you create a scramble, and then people are now protected. Who knows who? Your own will drop. And then you see, that is what is going on. And that's why people, contractors are angry and going and marching out there and carrying coffin. You should stop that. It's budgeting discipline. If you get the correct people there to do the job, this thing has been done 10 years back. You are moving this country 10 years back. Tinubu doesn't need all this. Going into an election year, this guy has done tremendously well in all other areas. Now this budget is becoming his Achilles heel. And is preventable, is avoidable.
You know, Professor Ife, if he has done tremendously well, we also have to process it through the eyes, or if you like, the results of those he has hired to manage the nation's finances. So doing tremendously well is relative. Professor Ife, we must answer.
I agree with you, but I said in some areas, you can't fault him on monetary policy. Right. You can't fault him on PIA implementation. You have to recognize that there are seismic shift in many sectors of our economy, but this budget and planning nonsense is not on.
All right.
He doesn't deserve this embarrassment.
All right. We must anchor at this point, and thank you very much for coming through, for bringing your expertise and insights to this critical conversation. Professor Ken Ife is an economist who has joined us on this one.
Thank you.
So we'll take a moment now. When we return, Cecilia is looking all green and ready to support the Super Eagles, just as you and I are, right? Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Our sports anchor and correspondent Cecilia Omorogbe joins me now on the show. So it's a show of two women. Yeah. Go Eagles.
Why are you guys? Why are you alone on set?
Well, you know,
it happens.
It happens once in a while.
I know that feeling.
The guys abandoned me today,
yeah,
but they'll be back tomorrow inevitably. So it's a super. I call the presentation of land documents and the award a super morale booster for the Super Eagles, right?
I call it a distraction. Because I'm like 22nd. I mean, you're playing a game today, and then of all the days, I mean, the entourage, you could see the numbers of people from the House of Assembly to the Nigeria House in Morocco. Like, I was going through the list. There's so many. I think it's a distraction because that 1 hour, 2 hours that you had to do that, they could use it for something else, really. Fine, it's okay. I mean, it's a morale booster for the players. Yes, it's going to like motivate them more, knowing that when they win, they get this. But some of these players have everything you can think of. They're playing in big clubs. They have the money. I'm not against it. It's just the timing. I feel this was what was promised last year, right? When they won, silver at the last AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire, and then you waited till a day to their opening game in the next edition before you're presenting to them what you promised them last year. But the good news is the fact that they said that of the Super Falcons is also ready. You know, they're processing that. And I hope they will not wait till a day before their game, before they will give it to them. So if it's in process, so that can be done immediately while some of the players are on holiday, call them together, have a dinner with them, and then just do that before March, which is when the next WAFCON will take place. Okay, talk about the Super Eagles of Nigeria. It's back to them. But I think, yes, it's going to boost them, in a morale booster for them ahead of the game against Tanzania. Nigeria had never lost to Tanzania. Look at Tanzania. I mean, the records that they have come, it's actually woeful. 9 games they played, 6 losses, 3 draws, and of course one of those losses happens to be when they played against Nigeria. You know, in 1980, I think Nigeria won 3-1 or thereabout at that time. You know, so they're not a team that we can look at and say we should be afraid of anything. Yes, we know there are no more minions in football when it comes to this AFCON. We saw what happened in the opening game, what Comoros did to Morocco. I mean, the first step was goalless. The Comoros, they sat back, but immediately they decided to come and start playing, and that's when the Moroccans took advantage of that, and they won 2-0. And of course, the second game, the earlier kickoff, which was Mali and Zambia, everyone thought, because Mali coming into the Nations Cup, they've been scoring, they've been winning games. We thought Zambia, their records to the AFCON, they won just 1 game, through the games before AFCON started, and we felt it was going to be, a goal first for the Malians, a walk in the park. But it wasn't, Patson Daka, that 92nd minute equalizer, Mali had to settle for a draw. Remember, Mali still hasn't won the Nations Cup. Their best finishing was runner-up in 1972, and after about 10 editions, they didn't appear. So they still trying to win their very first title. So Zambia have won, in 2012, far back, when they had that crash. But then you look at the game against Angola and South Africa. You also thought South Africa is going to be a walk in the park. But the Angolans, had to score 1. South Africa won that by 2-1. Then, of course, Egypt and Zimbabwe could have thought that Zimbabweans would take the lead, for Egypt. If not for the brilliance of Omar Mamouche. And, of course, you have Mo Salah, scoring. If those 2 guys were not there, what could have happened in that game? They had the stars, but then the Zimbabweans pushed them to the edge, even scoring first, before Egypt were able to bounce back to score those 2 late goals. So it shows that this AFCON, you can actually take any team for granted. We've seen physicalities, we've seen tactical display, we've seen technicality, we've seen a lot, when it comes to this AFCON, the improvement of the African coaches, the way they set out, the way they set up. So it tells you that, yes, all the coaches right now and all the players, they know what is at stake. This is not Europe. This is Africa. I know African football. If you're not physical, if you're not quick, if you're not fast, you blink and anything can happen. Anything can happen,
right? And we hope that it's all good that will happen. But we have Victor Osimhen as, our top guy.
Yes.
What impact do you think he will bring to the games?
A whole lot, really. We saw what Salah did yesterday. You know, they had to take the bulls by the horns when the Chiefs were down, and I think that's what Victor Osimhen would do. And I'm praying, really praying, that there will be no injuries, that the players will not target his legs, because I know what some of these players, what they do to him. You know, Osimhen goes for every ball, and I hope that he can be conscious enough not to go for some balls. Forget it. You don't have to go for every ball. You can actually let some go, but because he's very hungry, he's an aggressive player, he wants to go for every ball, he wants to do the tackle, he wants to do the scoring, and then so somehow players understand and they know that they tend to target him. I hope that doesn't happen in this AFCON. But Osimhen is one player you cannot write off. When the Chiefs are down, I think he's going to rise up to the occasion, really. I'm really rooting for him to be the MVP of this tournament. I'm rooting for him, you know, to help Nigeria. At least, when was the last time we won AFCON? 2013. It's been a long time. Really.
It's very long, right? Yeah. We hope we lift the trophy this time around. But there are 5 debutants besides our, you know, internationals.
Yeah.
How will this impact on the games this season?
Yeah, I think, you know, if you remember what happened in 2013 when we have a Sunday Mba from Nigerian League, unknown, you know, what's the one who scored that goal, that brilliant goal that got the trophy for Nigeria. So sometimes when you have these unknown names, these players, yes, they are not unknown, but this is they're making their debut. Sometimes some of these players might just be, you know, your jokers who come in to actually make a difference when the Chiefs are down. But I think these 5 players, you know, we've seen Ryan Alebi-Oshun, people have been talking about him, I mean, what he's done for his club. We've seen some other players who can actually come in and make a difference. And I hope that, you know, they may not start games, but I think when the Chiefs are down, when you have a player maybe having a knock or a sprain, you want the player to rest, so you have options. I think it's the options that he gives to the coach. I think that's why he picks some of these stars, knowing that anything happens, you've got a backup, you know, the players to actually fall back on. So I think it's a tight squad, and I believe with the kind of squad that we have, if you go to Egypt, it's just, you mentioned Marmoush and you mentioned Mo Salah. Who else are you going to talk about? You go to Morocco, you just have 2 or 3 star players. But when you come to Nigeria, you have star players. So we've got the squad that can actually win the Nations Cup. And the fact that we have options, you know, at the back, it's something I'm really happy about with what the coach has done with the squad.
You know, and it's so important, from what I'm following, to have fresh, you know, life injected into the Super Eagles team, you know, such that we also balance it out with the concerns that the internationals do not deploy to camp early enough. You know, the earlier we, you know, develop grassroots, the better. Now, you know, countries like Morocco and Egypt have not, you know, had it smooth sail, winning their first few games. And, you know, you started off by talking about African football and what it reflects. What does this say about, you know, the development of African football? Yeah,
I think it's growing, really. If you look at the Moroccan team, Morocco won the Under-20 World Cup. And you saw what they did at the Olympics. So it tells you that, in fact, the last World Cup, got in semi-finals. So that's the team you think they're playing Comoros. Oh, Comoros is a small island, right? But at the end of the day, in the first half, they struggled. I mean, they couldn't score. And that goal. So it shows it's growing. And Comoros, if you take a look at their team, most of their players are not based in their country, so they have international. So every country, and they're actually looking out. If they don't have them back home, they have players born outside of their shores that they can actually bring in to play. And you look at DR Congo, for instance, they're playing today. You have 9 of their players made debut for them just about 2 or 3 months ago. So they discovered that, yes, we don't have these talents back home. We can actually go and import. So that is happening. And so it's also helping these countries to, you know, go toe-to-toe with the so-called big boys. So they should be afraid.
Very quickly, Cecilia, what's your score prediction for today?
I think 3-1, really. I don't know if you can keep a clean sheet, but I think 3-1.
Don't give the opponent any room to score. You know, words are very powerful.
I've learned to actually, you know, relax after what happened at the World Cup qualifiers. No, I came here saying Lesotho, Zimbabwe, come on, we're going to ride them and pick a World Cup ticket straight up. But hey, went to the playoffs. Could not still pick it after going to the playoffs. But right now, I'm humble, so I think 3-1 is fine.
3-1, okay, that's realistic. Thank you so much, Cecilia. I'm going to look for my jersey and get a ball and start rehearsing my support for the Super Eagles.
Yes, next time we are here, I think we need to do that.
Yes, indeed. Cecilia Amorogwe is our sports anchor and correspondent, and we wish the Super Eagles all the best ahead of the match later today. And just before we go, let's show you some, happenings. It's day 3 of, the traffic situation on Lokoja-Abuja Highway. Look at the gridlock. Just look at the gridlock. I believe many are trapped there who are heading home to celebrate Christmas, who have left their destinations hours before. And so this is just to, call out security agents and indeed traffic management authorities to help secure a thoroughfare for these travelers. This is a most inconveniencing and traumatizing situation. No one wants to spend hours in traffic, not to talk of those who have been traveling for days. And finally, this came through from the weekend. The first son of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Seyi Tinubu, was installed as Okonlomo by the Alaafin of Oyo, the prime son of Yoruba land, I believe, and his wife was also installed as Yeye Okonlomo of Yoruba land. And it was a very, was a lot of fanfare in Oyo State over the weekend. Congratulations to Seyi Tinubu, the son of President Bola Tinubu. And this is where we anchor the program today. Thank you so much for being my companion and the second and third anchor on the show. Kari and Jeffrey will be back tomorrow. I am Bukola Kuka. Sunrise Daily is up next.